there was an altercation when a radio repairman struck a Negro woman who called him a liar. And as a result, her son, a teenager, knocked the white man down and beat him up. And the mob came down to the Negro section of town to work it over. And the Negroes fired back. And that night, the National Guard came in, surrounded the Negro neighborhood, which was called Mink Slide, and set up 50 caliber machine guns and just, I mean, it was horrible. They just, these wooden houses, they just went right through them like that. I don't know how many people got killed. But it ended up, one white man got killed. And a whole gang of Negroes were charged with murder. And we went down to try that case, and I got ill. I had virus X, and I was in the hospital for about 3 months. When I went back afterwards, the mob got me one night, and they were taking me down to the river, where all of the white people were waiting to do a little bit of lynching.
Well, when you say they were taking you down to the river, what were they doing? Escorting, herd escorting your car?
No, they pulled the car over, and behind me I could see there were 3 or 4 state highway patrol cars and 2 city cars. They wanted to see my, no, they said they had a warrant to search the car. It was a dry county, and they knew lawyers don't drink liquor. Well, believe it or not, we didn't have any whiskey in the car. And they looked around and said, well, we'll go in the trunk. I said, well, I told the other 2 guys, I said, well, look, wherever they go, you go. Don't let them put something in there on it. So I could hear a guy behind, but I could never see him. And they said, well, maybe they'll let us search them. I said, you got a warrant to search us? He said, no. I said, well, the answer is no. And I said, well, I guess you have to let them go. So I told a local lawyer, Luby, I said, you better drive, because it's his car, because I got a New York license. And he said, okay. As they drove off, the signs went off again. And the guy came back and he said, I was in the back seat. He said, you were driving this car, weren't you? I said, I'm not answering any questions. And they said, well, let's see your driver's license. So I gave it to him. And he carried it back. And again, I never found out who this voice was. He said, yeah, that's the one we want. So the guy said, get out. And I said, well, what's up? Put your hands up. I said, what's? They said, drunken driving. I said, drunken driving? I said, I meant drinking 24 hours. And he was drunken driving. He said, get in the car. And then they told Luby and others to go up, keep going up the road. And they wouldn't go. They stayed following this police car. And when they couldn't shake Luby, they turned around and went back in town. And when they got in town, the big wide street, nobody there hardly, about 2 or 3 people. Middle of the afternoon, they were all down the river. So then we realized what was up. And he said that there's the magistrate over there on the 2nd floor. He said, it's right over there. I said, yeah, what about it? He said, you go over there and we'll be over. I said, no, you won't. I said, if we go over, I'm going with you. He said, why? I said, you're not going to shoot me in the back while I'm escaping. I mean, let's make this legal. So he's a smart-ass nigga and things like that. And so we went over, and there was a little gentleman, a magistrate, a little man. He couldn't be much over 5'1" at the most. And he said, what's up? And he said, it's drunken driving. He doesn't look drunk to me. I said, I'm not drunk. He said, well, you want to take my test? I said, well, what's your test? He said, I'm a teetotaler. I never had a drink in my life. He said, I can smell liquor a mile off. You blow your breath on me? I said, sure. And I blew my breath. I almost rocked this man. I blew so hard. He said, hell, this man hadn't had a drink. What are you talking about? And I turned around and looked. They're gone. So I said, well, what the heck? He said, you're free to go. So I went out and ran as fast as I could down this Mink Slide, which was about 3 blocks down there. When I got down there, I told them what had happened. And they said, boy, they'll be down here in a minute. So they put me in this other car, and we went down and we forked out like that. And I went around like this and came on back to Nashville. The other funny thing, I remember I called Tom Clark, who was Attorney General, and I told him what happened. And he said, drunk and driving. I said, yeah. He said, well, were you drunk? I said, well, Mr. Attorney General, about 5 minutes after I hit up this phone, I'm going to be drunk. I'm going to be drunk.